Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast with me, Debbie Westwell, confidence and mindset coach and massive travel enthusiast. This podcast is a place to talk about being the best version of yourself, following your heart, making scary changes and having fun on this adventure that we call life. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want you to know that it is never too late to start over and make a life you are excited to get out of bed for. So let's go and get following the joy. Hello, lovely listeners. Today's episode is going to be a solo episode and it's going to be a little bit on two things. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we are the architects of our own lives and about manifestation. But actually, my little bugbear at the moment, and maybe it's just my algorithms, but it feels like everyone is banging on about manifestation and getting our dreams and things like that. And, there's so many different ways and so many people out there doing different things on it that I kind of just wanted to talk about it a little bit. But this has been brought on by a recent trip that I have taken that's got my brain thinking. So I'm going to kind of tell you the story of how I got there in the first place. And then we'll discuss all things about how we are where we are and what our thoughts have put into action and have created our reality and that kind of thing. So a week or so ago, I basically woke up on a Monday morning. I was feeling like, I need a break. I'll be honest, I travel a lot and it had been over a year since I'd been out on a little travel adventure. Now, I have been overseas due to work, but I hadn't been overseas for over a year due to little travel adventures and just jetting off and stuff. And I'm very impulsive and I like to travel alone. I like to travel with people as well. But I'm very sometimes just a bit last minute. So the last holiday prior to the one that I've just booked, I booked it on the Wednesday and I flew on the Friday to Mexico. This one, the other Monday, I was looking for flights. Then I was like, okay, not sure about flights. Where do I go? What should I do? Thinking about it. And then I was like, okay, I'll have a look at a spa. I basically decided I needed a break. I talk to everybody and I'm very, very hot on self-care. But self-care to me doesn't have to be sitting in a bubble bath. It doesn't have to be taking those walks in nature. It is both of those, to be fair. But a big part of self-care for me is kind of like filling up that real happiness cup of like, what makes you super excited to get out of bed in the morning? What's your purpose? What drives you? Because that in itself is a version of self-care. So for me, it's travel, hence why I was looking at the flights. So it was that, or I was like, I'm going to treat myself to a spa. And I've got to say, a really good friend called me and noticed that my brain wasn't engaged in the conversation because obviously I was online and I was looking for, spas in my local area and reading the reviews. And I explained to her what was going through my thought process. And she basically dropped a truth bomb on me. And so she's awesome. She basically said to me, listen, you will never be happy with the treatments that you receive at a spa because of your beauty background. So just do something that's going to fill your soul cup right up and book a trip somewhere. So God bless Carly. She is absolutely awesome and she's very, very correct. I have worked in beauty for years. I'm a qualified beauty therapist and I've managed a spa myself. So I am actually the fussiest person in the world when it comes to receiving good treatments and looking at a spa. And I always look at all the small things. Is the paint cracked? Was the service good? Blah, 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 blah. So when I find a good spa, I go back all the time. But in my local area where I lived, I was just looking for something, within that week and I couldn't find anything. So I thought, you're right, let's book a trip abroad. So went on to Skyscanner. It's one of the flights apps that I use. I love it because you can just search for everywhere. So I was just like, right, from my airport to everywhere, where's the cheapest? Leaving this week sometime. And it was Geneva. So I was like, brilliant. I love it when a plan comes together and I get to go to a country that I have never been to before. So Switzerland was a new one for me and I've now put a pin in the map. So I'm very excited about that. So I literally booked it on the Monday. I flew on the Tuesday and I stayed in a hostel. Now I'm in my 40s and I haven't stayed in a hostel since I was in my 20s, but I just thought, well, we'll give it a go and see how it is. Do you know what? It was actually surprisingly really good. And you meet some amazingly interesting people in hostels. So if any of you listening have thought about maybe traveling on your own or even with friends, and you're wanting to keep the cost down, hostels are a great place. I just recommend maybe doing a bit of research, reading the reviews. And actually, in hostels, you can even get double rooms on their own, but you still get that environment where a lot of people are traveling. They can offer advice to you and that kind of thing. Anyway, you don't want to hear about that. Well, maybe you do. Well, that will be another episode. So I'm finding myself in Geneva, and I can't tell you, I am so excited from the moment I locked my front door on the Tuesday morning to driving to the airport, to sitting in the airport, to getting on the plane. It just made me happy. It made me so happy that I ended up like falling straight back into my kind of tour guide, tour leader, fun personality. I was walking around Geneva, and any people in a group that were trying to do a selfie or were taking pictures of each other, I would stop in, and I am that person that stops. And I'm like, hi, do you want me to take a picture of all of you? Yeah. Do you want to take a picture? Thanks very much. Okay, let's have fun. So I had a great time. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, would it be of benefit to you for me to do kind of like a mini podcast series on traveling, any information that you want from traveling? I'd love to know if you think that that would be useful. Maybe drop me a message on my Instagram at Debbie Westwell and just tell me if that's something that you fancy. I'm more than happy to talk about traveling solo, traveling groups, how I book my last minute holidays. Do you even book anything last minute, or does it panic you because you like to plan? I'll be super interested to find out. But anyway, rewind. So I was in Geneva, loving it. And I managed to get myself out to United Nations, to the United Nations building in Geneva. And as I was stood outside United Nations building, I realised, and I had completely forgotten this, that when I was a teenager at college, the one thing I wanted to do was to work for the United Nations and to be at the United Nations buildings. I wanted world peace. I still want world peace, but, not in a beauty queen kind of way. But I also wanted to kind of make an impact in the world. And that was it. But I'd completely forgotten that that's what I wanted. Like if you would have asked me 2 days prior to me going, what did you want to do when you were younger? I'd have been like, I don't know, wanted to be a swimmer, wanted to be an astronaut, wasn't sure, wanted to be doing something to do with translations, like languages. So yeah, no idea until I was literally stood outside UN and I was like, light bulb moment. Actually, this technically has been one of my dreams. And maybe 25, 30 years later, I'm stood outside the building because I put the request into the universe. Hence why the manifesting, creating your own life side of things of this episode. So it got me to thinking, okay, if I put the request in of being at the United Nations building when I was, 17, 18, then what other things have I requested from the universe without thinking about it consciously that it is still working on? And that's quite scary because my mind goes in very, very strange, different ways. So I'm thinking, did I ever at one point say I wanted to be a pole dancer? I don't know. I really don't want that anymore. Thanks very much, but I'm sure I didn't. Don't worry. So it's just interesting how our thoughts basically direct our actions, and where we think our energy goes to that. And we put requests into the universe all the time, and the universe essentially delivers. Now, as I've talked about in previous episodes, the universe never delivers exactly how you want it. You've kind of got to close all those little loopholes up. But the process of it is subconscious. And it's only when it becomes a conscious thought and we talk about it and we acknowledge it, we call it manifesting. And then we start to look at actually physically thinking about it, doing it, actioning it. But then we get frustrated because we don't get what we want. When I've just proven that it's taken decades for me to get one of the things that I did ask for, because maybe I didn't put my full focus on it. Maybe I didn't really desire it and dream about it all the time because it was a fleeting thing. But it's happened. And so I'd like to invite you to have a little think about your life at the moment. You've probably gotten exactly what you've requested in the past. And as I've said, it might not be that you got it exactly how you wanted it, but it will be a version of what you have requested either consciously or subconsciously in the past. So what I'm kind of edging around here is the fact that you are an architect of your own life. And this might be a divisive comment, but you can massively change your circumstances and you are in charge of your own life. And you might be sat there thinking, oh, I hate my life at the moment, or I'm feeling sad or whatever. And I didn't order this and I didn't ask for this to happen. But I really believe that everything that you get in life is a lesson, and it sets you up for what's down the road in life, and you never get more than you can deal with. And sometimes it's very easy to kind of fall into that victim mode of blaming the world. So it's that question like, is the universe working for you, or is it just working against you? And if your answer is it's working against me, well, then you're in victim mode. And I'm sorry to tell you that, but you can get out of victim mode. That's not a problem. So if it's working for you, thank it, tweak it, move on. If you think it's working against you, then you have to get control of the reins again. I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. I can go massively into manifesting and how it works, but what I want you to know, first of all, is you have to acknowledge that you are the architect of your own life. So you are in charge of what's happening. So if you have a little conversation with your friends, if you have a conversation with family, and just say to them, what was I talking about 5 years ago? Can you remember? I mean, sometimes you might not be able to. Sometimes the people who were in your life back then aren't in your life anymore. So you might not be able to check. But I think I've mentioned it before. I was on holiday a few years ago with a friend who I have known for decades, but I used to live with her. And I remember saying, I'm not very happy with my life at the moment. I'm feeling a bit sad and miserable. And she was just like, check yourself. I love my friends, by the way, because they're just so brutally honest with me. But then she was just like, check yourself. You said when you lived with me, you wanted to live near the beach and you wanted to work remotely. And that is exactly what you've got. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. But I'd forgotten again that that's what I spoke about all the time. Like that was my main thing. I want to live near the beach and I want to basically work remotely and I want to have this amazing life. And so I've got it. But then I forget I've got it because I'm in it. So my desire is wanting the next thing. As human beings, we have this ultimate desire to just want the next thing. The grass is always greener. What's over there? Keeping up with the Joneses, all of those sayings. But like historically, if you think about how we were when we lived in caves and things like that, it was all about survival. And neither is right nor wrong. But actually then it comes down to, we just need to be grateful for where we are at the moment, grateful for what we've got, and acknowledge that we've put ourselves there. So that's what I requested. So I was like, oh, okay. I've requested going to the United Nations. Tick, I've got it. I mean, to be fair, I requested £1,000, like an extra week when I was working. I think I've told you this story before as well. And I got it in different ways than I expected it to come. So you've got to kind of be open to it. But as I say, first of all, acknowledge that you are the architect of your own life. So if you're not happy with it right now, have a little think back to what happened 5, 10, 15, even 20 plus years ago. What were you saying that you wanted? And also, I genuinely think that you can kind of cancel requests to the universe, if that makes sense. So if there's anything that you're thinking, oh, I don't want that anymore. Do you know what? Just say it out loud, state it, write it down on a piece of paper, burn it, do whatever you want to do. But again, you can make those changes. So I think we've got to be really careful about what we wish for. Our parents told us that when we were younger. Be careful what you wish for. I don't think they realised they meant it in a woo-woo, ask the universe way, but they're completely right. And I definitely think that you can change things. But I know that everybody's talking about manifesting at the moment. People are selling manifesting courses and I love them. Absolutely love them. But I'm going to give you the brief basics. I've already given it in an interview that I did with Mint Miller on her podcast. And she was asking me about manifestation and how you do it, because I genuinely think I'm a manifesting queen. And the more I tell myself that, the more I believe that. Even if you're not into woo, from a psychological point of view, if I am giving myself something, like I am saying to myself, what I am putting out there now, I am creating, it almost tells my brain, okay, now you start going looking for those things. So very much like that whole example that we use when you say, you're looking for a white Corsa to buy, and then suddenly all you see on the road is white Corsas because you've given your brain a cue to go and search for something. And so consequently, it goes searching for it. It's like putting into Google search, look for white Corsas, and it's just bringing you up all of the pictures, and then all of the algorithms on the systems start showing you white Corsas. So that's exactly how your brain works. And so when you are, again, focusing on the bad things, you're going to get more of them. So you focus on the good things, or what you want and what you desire. And technically, whether it's the woo side that you believe in, that it just creates from the universe and it's completely unlimited, or whether it's the psychological, I've now basically set my computer brain in motion and it is starting to search and make that come true, you can absolutely control your future in a way. So the basics of manifesting are getting really clear on what you want is number one. So write it down. Actually, do you know what? If you can draw, even if you can't draw, try it. Draw it. And this is where people do vision boards, get the pictures off the internet, exactly what you want. Write down like where you are, but actually you do it in the present tense of where you are. So say, for example, I want something by, the end of 2026. So I will say, it is December 31st, 2026, and I am in my 12-bedroom mansion with beach access. I don't know, making it up now. My 2 dogs are running around me. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm looking out onto my stunning gardens with a pool and whatever it is. And I'm feeling super happy because I can share this with my friends. So the idea is, get super specific is A. So what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Think about all of those senses, and in that present tense, that's probably B. So how does it feel? So are you happy? Are you content? Do you feel satisfied? Are you excited? Like, what is that feeling that you want to be feeling? And then also get those 5 senses in. What can you see around you? What can you smell? What can you hear? Like for me, for that example, I'd be like, I'm with my soulmate. I've got my dogs around me. I can see them. I can see my garden. I can hear the birds, and I can hear the sea if I go out the back, and I can smell the salty air. And I don't know, maybe I can smell bread cooking in my beautiful Aga oven or whatever it is. And, maybe I can taste that bread. So I'm making my senses believe it's possible. And then, so once you've got really clear, once you've got your feelings and emotions and your senses involved, you kind of focus on that consistently. So you keep directing your thoughts to it. So that's why people who have a vision board will look at it every day. Or they might, use EFT and do some tapping to it. Or they might have some mantras there. So like, I am super successful, my bank account is overflowing, I am loved, I am loving, whatever it is. I feel loved, I feel like, get those feelings in. Just keep looking at it. And then it's really hard to explain, but for me, there comes a point where there's just something in my body that goes, okay, I've already got this now. And then it's almost like you have to let go. So the next step is just let go of it. And then inevitably it happens. Now, it doesn't always happen immediately. It could be days, weeks, years. It depends on the size of it. But there's a balance, and then you've also got to take a little bit of action. So that's kind of the basics. I don't want you to get overwhelmed with manifesting and creating a life. But this podcast is called Following the Joy, and I just want you to be happy. So let's just dial it right back and be like, go back to the question I asked at the beginning. What really feels your happiness? Look it up. What really, like for me, it was the travel. What really, really makes you get out of bed in the morning and be so excited to start the day? that you just can't wait and you could do it every single day, because that is probably something you should have in your life a lot, whether it's work related, whether it's, like to do in your free time, whatever it is, that's something you should have in your day. And going back to the manifesting side of things, have a little think about what you've already asked for. Have you received it in some shape or form? Is there anything that you wish to cancel because it no longer serves your highest purpose? And if you want to have a little go at manifesting, absolutely try what I've just told you. I hope that makes sense. And I'm hoping that it's landing and I'm saying something that would be good for you. So it would be really good to hear from you. As I say, drop me a message on Instagram and let me know about the travel. Let me know what you're going to be manifesting. That's the other thing that you can do as well. When you put it out there, when you share it with somebody, it makes it more real. It's like a goal. And another tip from one of my previous guests, Jill Geik, if you haven't listened to her episode yet, have a little listen, is sign it. Whatever you write down as a statement of how you were going to be at whatever date in the future that you are going to be and how you're going to be feeling and what you're going to own and do and be loving and doing, sign it, because it means in our brains that it's a really important document to us. So I hope that has kind of got the little brain juices thinking about how we're designing our lives at the moment. If you've not got the life that you want at the moment, do you know what? Don't worry about it. We go through absolute peaks and troughs. It's not all supposed to be cruising along and perfect all the time. It can't be, because we can't experience the highs without the lows. So just start with the little things of, how do you want to make the changes? What do you want it to look like? And the more you start focusing on that, the feelings of the happiness and what you want it to be like, you will naturally start almost seeing that you're steering your ship in that direction, even if it's just one tiny degree at a time, and you will get there inevitably. But as I said, reach out to me. If you want to book a call for a free chat with me on my Instagram in the link tree, you can book into that. And yeah, it would be lovely to hear from you. So just a quick recap is, do you want to go traveling? Do you ever go traveling? And would you like to learn more about solo traveling or get any tips? But also, what fills your cup up, your happiness and soul cup up? Have a little think about that. And how is it working in your life at the moment? And then acknowledge that you are the architect of your own life, and where your thoughts go, that's where your energy is flowing to create those moments and those things and those dreams. So again, just be careful of where your thoughts are going, and follow that manifestation process of creation. So I'd love to know how you're getting on. I'd love to know what you think about this episode, and I will see you really soon. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And as always, any links or anything mentioned will be in the show notes. If you haven't connected with me already, I'd love to meet you. So come find me on Instagram at Debbie Westwell. You can always slide into my DMs and let me know what you thought about this episode. Or why not join my Facebook community, the Alchemy of Self-Care free community. You can also find out how to work with me at debbiewestwell.com. If you like what you hear, then please follow me or hit the bell icon. Share with somebody like you who would benefit from listening. And if you have time, then leave me a positive review, and that would be fabulous. Thank you for being your wonderful self, and I can't wait to chat next time.